Welcome back, writers. Today we're talking about clichés, something we use in our spoken language all the time, probably more than you're aware. And for the purposes of this episode, we're talking about clichés as expressions that have been used so many times they've become trite and uninteresting. They're overused phrases that show no creativity or original thought. Phrases like every fiber of my being, better late than never, all's fair in love and war, and actions speak louder than words. I'm sure the first time somebody said actions speak louder than words, it was considered fresh and catchy. But just because something was fresh and catchy back in the day, does that mean we want to use it in our writing today? Well, even in the writing community, there's disagreement about this. The case against clichés seems pretty clear. As we already said, by definition, they're trite, uninteresting, and unoriginal. And that doesn't seem like something we want in our sentences. But another reason we don't want to use clichés is the risk of offending people. And for me, the first cliché that comes to mind when we talk about this is kill two birds with one stone. I hate this cliché, I hate thinking about why it became a cliché, and every time I hear it, it offends me. And consciously or not, I hold that against the writer, because in addition to being trite, uninteresting, and unoriginal, it's in bad taste. And it tells me that this writer didn't consider the impact that this cliché would have on her readers. And this is an example of when I would definitely take the time to come up with a better phrase that conveys the same message, but in a more acceptable way, like light two candles with one match. It expresses the same sentiment, accomplishing two tasks with one action, but it's a more positive image that won't offend readers. And there are a lot of clichés out there that people find offensive. You're pulling my leg. I got gypped. Rule of thumb, sold down the river, it's a cakewalk, pay through the nose. And you can look into why those clichés are offensive. I'll just say they all have questionable origins, so I urge you not to use them. But more importantly, we don't want to use any cliché that could offend our readers. That's part of our responsibility as writers. If we don't know the origin of a phrase, we have to do that research before including it in our writing. Remember, we're responsible for everything on the page. Another reason we may not want to use clichés is because they can minimize the gravity or importance of a situation. And I'm thinking of expressions like, thank you for your service. I'm sorry for your loss. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Situations where we would want to use these phrases are belittled when we resort to clichés. Thanking a veteran for their service calls for a genuine expression of appreciation, not just regurgitating a cliché. If it's important enough to say something, we want to say something meaningful. Thank you for the sacrifice you made on behalf of our country. Something that shows we put some thought into it. Clichés are never appropriate in times of great sadness, reverence, or tragedy. Another strike against clichés is that they can make our writing sound trendy, and trendy today can sound outdated tomorrow. Mind your P's and Q's, fit as a fiddle. This is a fine how do you do. She's got a bee in her bonnet. Remember those? They were probably all the rage back in the day, but they didn't hold up over time. And who knows if the clichés we're using today will be around 10 years from now. Phrases like keeping it real, it is what it is, throwing shade, and the one that's annoying me the most right now, 100%. So if you're concerned about your writing sounding passé or outdated over time, you definitely want to avoid those trendy clichés. Okay, so those are some of the reasons we don't want to use clichés. Are there any reasons we do want to use them? Well, what if a cliché is the cleanest, most efficient way to express a thought? We know that if we're trying to craft stronger sentences, we want to get our full message across in as few words as possible. If a cliché is the best way to do that, do we not use it just because it's cliché? What's more important, getting our message across succinctly, or not using cliches because they're trite and unoriginal, or any of those other reasons we just talked about. Let's look at some cliches. Time is money, meaning time is a valuable resource and we don't want to waste it. Time is money is an efficient way to get that specific message across. And if that's the message we're trying to convey, we'd be hard-pressed to find a better way to say it. So do we use it because it's perfect for our message? Or do we not use it because it's cliché? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's a true statement. It's clean and simple. If that's the message we're trying to get across, that's a pretty effective way to do it. Do we use it? It takes a village, the African proverb that has become shorthand for the importance of working together. Simple, clean, efficient. It takes a village. Use it, don't use it. Are there any other reasons we might want to use cliches other than word economy? Well, some of our favorite exclamations are cliches, and coincidentally, no offense to anyone, many of them happen to be religious in nature. Oh my God! What in God's name? Holy sweet Mother of God, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Not too many replacements for those. Do we use them? In creative writing, maybe, because fictional characters can say whatever they want, but for business writing, probably not. What about familiarity? Experienced writers know that a good way to connect with readers is through a sense of familiarity. So if certain cliches help us accomplish that, do we use them? I got your back. Never say never. Blood is thicker than water. The glass is half full. They're familiar, they're comforting, but are they special enough to override our desire not to be cliché? Then there are times we might want to use cliches for humor by putting our own spin on them. This is my first rodeo. No pain, no problem. Maybe time won't tell. When life gives you lemons, add a little vodka. So what does it all mean? Where do we stand on cliches? Are we for them or against them? Well, we're writers, so our first choice should always be to use our own words, not cliches. However, as my brother used to say, you have to understand the system to work within the system. And that's what we're doing right here. We're understanding the system. We know that cliches are trite and unoriginal, can offend some readers, can minimize the importance of certain situations, and can be trendy, making our writing sound outdated. But we also know that cliches can be the most efficient way to express a thought. They can be used as exclamations, some of which may be religious in nature, so difficult to replace. Cliches can be used for humor when we put our own spin on them. They're familiar, so they help us connect with readers. And they can be used in creative writing to help develop characters, or for any other reason that you as a writer can defend. So we understand the system. We know the pros and cons. We have everything we need to make an informed choice. And that's what we do every time we're tempted to use a cliche. We make an informed choice. Is it the best thing for the message? And is it the best thing for the reader? And if you ask yourself those two questions about cliches and pretty much everything else having to do with writing, you'll always make the right choice. And that's my tip for today. I'll see you next time.